Coming to you live from a country whose national treasure is a copy of Kangaroo Jack on DVD. It's time for Destiny Down Under.
G'day, welcome to the 200th episode of the Destiny Down Under podcast. We turned 200 years old, and Matt and I feel every single day of the 200 years that we've turned today. We've got some very special guests today, but before we get to that, I just want to apologise for the fact that, like, Osgrid is shit. Like, not an apology from me, but an apology that Australian power is shit, because this was meant to happen precisely 24 hours ago, where everyone's looking forward to getting it, bloody doing their fucking Friday night, Saturday boarding thing, and completely fucked it. So, Osgrid, grow up, you're an idiot. But now that I've got that off my chest, we'd like to welcome a couple of guys that probably know a little bit about raiding at this point, just maybe a little bit. Aoterra, Sotosolice from Luminous, boys that managed to get through, clear the Deep Stone Crypt first, and etch their names onto the annals of history and belts for the foreseeable future. Like, welcome, guys. I mean, it's the first time you've been on the show, obviously. I think we've talked about it before, but anyway, welcome and congratulations from everyone, well, from us and from everyone else in the Aussie community and the ANZ community. How he's going? I'm just going to leave Matt because Matt's cranky. Yeah. We're going to circle back to Matt in a minute. I'm not going to talk to him.
Do you know what I was fucking thinking? I was like, oh, how can I make a handout joke? And I was like, no, too far. And I was like, nah, fucking do it. And I was like, nah, don't do it. No, so whatever.
Matt's been put on ice because he's angry and may say fucking inappropriate things. But boys, yeah, it's been a big week for the community. I guess we can probably fucking circle around and talk about that later because I think everyone's got a take on it, and deservedly so. But congratulations, dudes. How's your week been? We always start with this kind of like just catching up because it's just basically me and Matt monetizing our friendship. But you've probably had a week unlike many others have ever had a week, right? So if you want to walk us through it from Sunday. What time was it that you guys started? Like, it would have been like 7 a.m. that it kicked off?
7 a.m. for us NZs. Yeah,
that's not bad, man.
Yeah. I got up at like 4 because I couldn't sleep.
I tried to go to bed early the night before, and naturally I woke up after 2 hours, so I was up since like sort of 1 a.m. just anticipating it. So
Jesus.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't hold you back quite clearly.
That's how it is, though.
I think everyone was a bit the same. I tried to go to bed at like fucking 10, which is pretty early for me, and just lay there like, staring at the roof is fucking rad.
It's hard enough getting to bed when you're excited for something like that, and it's been about a year since we've had a raid race. So
yeah, it's like Christmas, man. It was great. It was great. And like, admittedly, because Matt and I did our own thing on race day, I didn't manage to catch any of the stream. But like, how was it? How did you find it? And congratulations to all 6 of you too. I'll go through it. Terra, obviously. Soto, obviously. Claw, Flux, Shenzi. How do you fucking say that? Shenzi? That's a name.
You got it.
And Siege Dancers. Oh. Thank you for the 3 of you other guys for having conventional names. Shenzi, look, try hard.
Throwing the curveball.
So obviously you guys have been playing together for a long time, right? Like, that's is that you been working at this for a while together? Like, was there a regime that you had in place of practicing other stuff to be able to do this, or
no?
The whole team of 6 hadn't played together just at all because Shenzi was new to our team. He had actually never met Flux before our world's first attempt, so that was the first time meeting. I think it went pretty well.
Yeah.
Have they played together since? I hope they haven't. I hope it's like, no, we'll only ever play together.
I'm not sure. Flux kind of just disappears between worlds first. It's
he just does his own thing, comes back, gets a place.
Heads out. Wandering Ronin of like world's first warriors.
Pretty much.
Yep.
So I don't know. Obviously, Matt and I got up and started drinking at 5 a.m. Or for Matt, it was 2 a.m. He was making mojitos out of a teapot. But so
yeah, look, I don't have a huge recollection from world's first name. So I don't think you guys did that. Hey, so what? You're telling me you guys had not played together as a team of 6 until that exact moment?
It's a team of 6. 5
As
of
a team
us
of 6. Individually, we've probably mixed and matched, apart from Flux and Shenzi. But we've
Was there
Soto and Paul play together a lot. Me and Soto play together a lot.
right?
In general,
Was there any advantages to having someone that you didn't know? Like, does anything that came up be like, oh, that's an interesting way of thinking about it, or like, was it just? I don't know. That's very unusual. Well, actually, not really, because Mikey in chat fucking did an LFG. Maybe that's the trick.
maybe.
Yeah. I think it's not so much that we didn't know each other or anything like that. Because like Flux and Shenzi have been in the clan since I think December-ish, 2018.
Probably.
So
yeah, right. Yeah.
they've been around. They've just never really played together. So yeah.
Right. Okay.
And the other 5 of us have been on our attempts for world's first since Crown. So
right.
Shenzi was effectively the new player, but he was already a very talented player who'd played with us in other things. He just hadn't played with Flux before.
Right.
Yeah, quite
so
clearly. I imagine you don't get much of a start without some natural ability.
Yeah.
Matty, you need to go and try out for Luminous. Show him your teapot, see if you can get in. I'm not going to
ever see a man drink mojitos from a teapot? Right. So what was the strat? Did you have a strat going in, and did you continue it?
We, looking back at our past attempts, I'd always felt that we kind of fall into a trap of seeing something that worked for other people and try and imitate that. And sometimes that's not the most efficient way to play as yourself. So I sort of went in with the mindset that we should always just look for whatever works for us and kind of ignore what's going on for other people. And we went in with that.
What works for you might not work for another team.
Yeah. And were you both streaming?
Of setups and whatnot.
Yeah, we were both streaming.
Yeah, we were.
I was also streaming. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And because honestly, I was obviously blasted, so I didn't see it. Did you have a lot of people come through when you guys started to get into the lead, or were you flying under the radar with your viewership, or what happened? What was that like?
I think we definitely flew under the radar a bit until we got to boss or final stand at least.
Yeah, until people knew you were in the final stand sort of deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We had one run before our successful attempt where we got final stand.
We had one run to final stand where we didn't quite have enough ammo. And so we just went back in straight after that and fixed that problem, getting special finishes and not using super and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
Closed out 2 runs after that.
What was the total time?
5.5 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I was fucking watching, mate. You did it too quick. You did it too fucking quick. No one knew you'd done it in 5 hours.
we were still on A-Tracks, shit-faced. I think we gave up about 5.5 hours in when we were trying to figure out. We didn't really lean on outside strats. We kind of just went, we'll figure out as much of it as we can ourselves. And then we got to A-Tracks and we're trying to work that out. And then I think we were getting nowhere, and someone's like, here's the Reddit post of the mechanics. And we all sat there while Sassy read it out half drunk, and all of us just went, I can't be bothered with this. This is it. We all quit.
Yeah, so, Matrix was definitely a
it was
big
the
hill
gate,
for
man.
people to get over. Yeah.
How long did you spend on A-Tracks? Would you say that was the hardest encounter or not?
An hour or 2 hours probably.
Yeah, it wasn't the most complicated in terms of mechanics, but it was just really long and quite a consistency check. So you had to really understand and get those mechanics down to get through it. So we spent 2.5 hours on there, I think, something like that.
Really?
What's your?
It's like half.
I feel like you've solved those mechanics really quick. Do you have a trick? Were you guys talking everything out? Do you get in there and wipe and look at the scoreboard to see what objectives are being listed? Do What was the thing that clicked for you, like each time to solve those things?
Well, first we went in and first time the clones, did their little wipe thing. We just wiped immediately because we shot the wrong one, and we quickly figured out the scanner thing, obviously. And I think it was probably like 3 or 4 wipes before we figured out you could shoot the Atrax like replications off other people.
That's a bit that I would just never fucking think to do. It's something we haven't really seen before, right?
Yeah, I didn't realize
I don't remember how it happened
because I was never operator. I didn't realize that it had to be the operator shooting it, so I was just shooting it and not doing anything every single attempt. But thankfully, Flux was always there. I think Flux was pretty much always on operator for us, and he was always
invised past to. He was on bottom floor. He picked it up. He invised past the boss to go up the elevator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How did you just feel about that the first time you did it? The going up the space elevator. I know it's kind of the.
I think Siege immediately yelled out something about
ODST. Halo ODST. Yeah.
Dropship. Yeah. Fuck yeah. I'm back. Yeah. I'm coming home.
Yeah. We definitely really enjoyed that. It was such a cool way to like traverse the encounter. Like obviously, like splitting into 2 teams is quite a common thing in Destiny encounters, but that was a really cool way to do it.
It's probably the most dramatic way we're ever going to do it. I feel like, it's like normally jump through this Vex portal or, hive taken
go through a door and it locks
looks
behind you.
Yeah, this one's like get in this pod and get blasted at 1,000,000 miles an hour into space.
Elevator. I'm like.
So looking back on it, is there a moment that you guys sort of realized, hang on, like we're right in this up to our teeth and we can make a shot at this, or?
After Atrax, we got really I guess motivated because we had someone in like chats or whatever saying, Gigs just finished before you, Slayer just finished before you, and
so at
we
that
hadn't
point,
heard of any other teams
there.
before that. Yeah, so we felt like we were on pretty good pace or whatever. And same thing, like leaving third encounter, someone let us know that Slayer had also just finished third encounter. So yeah, it was. We kind of knew we were up there, but we had no idea that we were that close right until the very end.
That's beautiful. That's one of those things. It's a true race in that sense.
Final stand.
Was there a build that you felt really got you through? Like, were you guys running Warmind cells, or were you running Charge with Light, or was there
both?
Yeah, so not everyone had a full like Warmind cell build or like all the mods necessary. So we had some people on, was it Wrath and Rage of Rasputin?
Yeah, Wrath, Rasputin, Rage of the Warmind.
And then other people just on like Global Reach, and then the other sort of mod slots were taken up by things like Charge with Light, Protective Light.
Taking charge and protective light,
yeah.
So did you guys discuss this ahead of time and go like, this is what we need in terms of like a 6-man team composition, or was it more about like, this is what I'm individually comfortable with and suits me as a player kind of thing, or a combination of the
we
two?
kind of agreed that sort of like in terms of what was best would be something like Wrath and Rage, because it just loops cells on repeat, which is just so
not everyone had that, so everyone who had it would just run it, and then everyone else would do their own build that worked for them.
Yeah, that's
right. And what about weapons wise? Like, were you on the slug shotguns, the final encounter, or what was your DPS bringers?
We opted for double snipers, didn't we? Like it was
Izanagi's and Aikilos or Tumulus.
Yeah.
Right, so you just
because
punching everything until the DPS fades? Is that
sword? We had a sword.
Right.
Sword for Adclair.
Sword for Adclair.
In the greatest moment of overkill in Destiny history. Here comes a drag. Heavy sword.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, right. So falling guillotine and then double snipers. Did someone have divinity or?
Yep, Shinty was on divinity.
Oh, respect to the divinity bitch.
Respect to the div, man. He puts in work. He doesn't get the numbers, but he puts in the work.
It's normally when we've been running of late, it's always been the person whose light is lowest. It's like I mean, not me, because I don't even have divinity, so I just don't have to do it. It's great. I'm never getting it.
Were you surprised with the fucking divinity crit spot? What was just the old ball sack?
Yeah. We were trying to like shoot his head, and it was like, where's the div crit spot? But it's under his balls.
Someone's got a sense of humor. Someone's like, that's where it needs to be. I mean, to be fair though, if it was anywhere else, it'd be
so.
fucking hard to hit because you're kind of like looking up at him, right? So I think it's great. Did this raid, like, I mean, it's kind of surprised me in a way that, like, you know, especially that final encounter, we're so used to Destiny kind of needing that, you know, range damage phase kind of thing. So like things like your Izanagi's and all that sort of stuff, obviously they work, but to be able to turn around and within sort of like 4 or 5 hours of you guys getting through, I'm seeing people go, oh no, like the play here is equally slug shotguns and stuff like that. And we haven't really seen that, like, at least not historically in a final boss phase. Do you think that's a good change and something you'd like to see more of, like, or not?
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting.
We had obviously like practiced double slugs for like things like speed runs and stuff, because it's pretty much the highest like precision weapon damage you can do if you're like swapping between them effectively.
Yeah, one of the highest sustained DPS in the game.
But it's good to be able to have like a boss that you can do that on. Obviously in the past we've had things like Sanctified Mind, which is often Narnia, like
the harpy running away.
Yep, the harpy that just runs away from you while you damage it, and
it's.
I don't think slugs were as powerful back then anyway, but it's good to get a boss that can make use of the meta.
Oh, admittedly, I saw Tara's video, was it yesterday or the day before, of the juggling the two shotguns, and I've been trying to do that, probably annoying the shit out of everyone in my team by like whiffing half of the shots, but still it works. I was up there for DPS, so it works. But all right, well, look, congrats again, guys. It's I don't know, like we've been as a like, obviously everyone loves Femi, but he hasn't done it yet. So obviously you guys are just our favorite now.
He'll get the bounce back raid.
No, look, it's one of those things where we've been sort of sitting on the sidelines, always cheering on anyone who's going into it, and it was just nice to see someone that's from our region. I mean, look, Australia's got a long history of sort of claiming New Zealanders as their own, and you know, like Russell Crowe is a New Zealander, and Nicole Kidman, and all of these people. So we're going to go the opposite way, given how good New Zealand is at the moment with both COVID and Jacinta Ardern. Can you like adopt us? I think is where we're at. We're just going to become you guys instead of
steal
stealing
the Australian Destiny community.
Yeah. So it's now the NZ.
Now the NZ.
That's the way it works now. All right, cool. Well, look, we don't have a TWAB to go through. We don't have like a heap of fucking news to talk. So what I thought we could do is just dive into talking about our impressions of the raid, like the encounters themselves, the difficulty of it. You know, we're going to have to talk about that because that's been a big fucking thing this week.
Dangerous subject.
And maybe Matt and I can kind of like give our impression of like what it's like with the universal difficulty modifier of mojitos.
Hey,
you guys mode and you have mojito mode.
Oh, we had the mojito debuff at fucking a lot.
It was so bad. It was fucking hilarious. We laughed a lot. That was the thing that we went in. We're like, I don't know. I mean, admittedly, and I guess this is touching on something that's been a pretty hot topic in the community over the last week, is that like we kind of wrote ourselves off before we even went in. Like we were never going for world's first, but even for clearing it on day one, we were kind of like, look, we'll probably just go into the first encounter and not get past that, you know, like it. So we're just going to drink and have a laugh and all that sort of stuff. And in hindsight, I'm kind of like, fuck, if I'd taken it a little bit more seriously, maybe we'd have got there, because it's
No, we wouldn't know.
No, we wouldn't have, mate. Fucking, that's tomatoes talking.
Me and you would have fucking killed each other. I don't know. All right. So starting from the start of the raid, we spawn in and we go, I don't know, we kill some fucking fallen shit and go through a pod. But the first little sort of sub encounter is the platforms with the pikes. I found that like just a super cool little departure from really anything that we've seen in a raid before, right? Like, I mean, obviously now everyone can glitch
different.
No, it was very much like Crota, right? It's very much the Crota pillars in a different setting.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, I didn't think of it that
In
way.
terms of, like the mechanics of it, but
You're just going between the things and surviving, and then there's the cheese where you can just go straight to the end anyway.
It took us like 4 days to figure that out as a community. How to bug out bloody shelter buff and just drive around wherever you want.
Day or two.
I mean, all I thought was, oh, this is why they added the weather system.
It doesn't move you around though, which is a good thing. I think that would get really annoying
if you were getting blown off the edge. It'd make it harder. Maybe that's
blown off the edge by a sparrow. You're trying to get all the pikes to the end, and you just get pushed off the ledge by some wind. God.
So from there, we're into the Deep Stone Crypt. It's all the start of the facility, and we end up in the first. What's the first encounter called? I don't know. I just call it cylinders.
Crypt security, right?
Crypt security, right? So that was the one that we managed to get past while shit faced. So it can't be that hard, right? How long were you guys there for on day one, figuring it out? Because I guess your first introduction to the mechanics of operator.
It was just under an hour, I think.
An hour or so, yeah, probably.
Yeah, not too bad.
So in the tradition,
you know what I thought the tricky part was? I thought the tricky part was or the less obvious part was which security cell to shoot when you actually got to the deep damage phase.
Yeah.
Did that take you a while to get that, or you're like, all right, we're obviously got to use a scanner as well to work out which pillar to shoot?
We
I think someone maybe
one
accidentally
or two
had scanned it down, or like saw that there were like things underneath the thing that corresponded to it, but they didn't go up, and then we sent scan it down to see if they would like light up, and it worked out.
Yeah, right.
But something we figured out that not a lot of other people did was like, if you sending red back up after the damage phase, you send operator up, and then the operator goes back down to let the other guy out. Mm-hmm. So I think that helped us with like not wiping because of the revives.
Apparently, people were just
send the guy and die,
eating a res on it. Yeah.
Oh, really? Really?
Well, look.
Yeah, we were sending operator down to let the person back out.
That was definitely the intended way.
Yeah, not eat a res.
No, you must die. There was no flaw.
You can take that like we actually successfully figured out something in the same way you guys did, but I reckon it's probably more like the broken clock being right twice a day kind of thing. Like we just happened to land on the right way. But then again, we did have Sass with us, and Sass was kind of like keeping us in shape to some extent before he got really shit-faced and it all went downhill. So from there...
So did you guys take notes, draw little schematics, fucking call-outs, or what were you using for telling people which panels to shoot?
I
don't think we
just
wrote anything down, did we?
Yeah, we just...
I fucking hate both of you, you know that?
We had Keg, our mate who's a fucking graphic designer, doing like fucking full-blown schematics to help our piss-addled brains.
In the brain.
But before one of our attempts, I think we got everyone down.
Yeah, everyone went down, and we like figured out the call-outs 1 through 5 on each side.
We gave it each a name, and then we each looked through the windows to see like where it would be from the top floor. So
yeah, right. So you did 1 to 5 on light side and dark side, basically.
Yep.
Top to bottom or whatever. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, that's the convention.
Yeah, I think our IQ of our team's just fucking uber low, to be honest, Log. I think that's we need fucking pictures and diagrams.
Draw me something in crayon, please.
It's funny because the more we go back to it, the more we sort of crutch on diagrams, though. So, maybe you're just ahead of the game.
We were talking about that on the day, actually, that like the person who makes the first most accurate day one diagram, like that becomes the convention for the entire community for forever, right? So I've seen a few. I haven't settled on one, but I'm just going to go with Kegs because I'm biased. So there's that. So from there we descend further down into the crypt, and I like the way that they've structured the raid in that there's kind of like, it's pretty common in that there's an encounter and then there's the transition between the encounters. This was I felt they nailed like both before and after A-tracks in that, like, there's even specific dialogue for if you are an exo or not, and all of that sort of stuff. I feel like they did an incredible job of tying it into the actual game itself. The big thing in there is the big cloaked statue, I suppose. Maddie, you were carrying on like an absolute pork chop when we saw that. I mean, I'm not sure whether
don't remember, but I'm sure I did. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, were you guys across some of the lore before you went in, or are you more on the typical Destiny players like never fucking read a Grimoire card in my life.
Yep.
Yep,
I
that's
definitely
me.
lean on that side. I have no clue what most of the lore means.
I know.
So you're like,
Definitely need a lore
cool.
Sherpa at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You grab those.
Mate, I've got to work it out
Exos.
myself. I'm still trying to work out why the fuck Tanix is there.
Yeah, that's
Right,
the big question.
Yeah, we were definitely sightseeing on the way through. We were definitely stopping and looking at stuff and going through the labs and seeing if there's any little Easter eggs and stuff in there. But I imagine you guys just blasted through.
Yeah, just sort of laser
You're all
focus.
Necro's dash
There's a door
swords
down there.
Yeah. And then were you surprised because with Tanix popping out and Atrax being a fallen Exo, it wasn't really a cutscene, but we hadn't really had anything that was like, I guess you sort of have boss introductions, right? Like
like Valkyrie,
yeah.
like jumping down from the roof or whatever.
Yeah, true.
Like
So
that.
it was like that, yeah. I thought it was cool though. It was
It's a cool way to
being
tease
a
the
bit closer.
final boss.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was cool. Like you see him crawl away, and you're like, wonder where he's going.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing.
Well, there is a lot of foreshadowing. I mean, you drive through the fucking place of the final encounter right at the start.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is that smart reuse of an area or deliberate foreshadowing? I don't know, but it doesn't really matter because it works. So Atrax is a son of a bitch. Status Calamitous was the meme of the day. Everyone fucking hates him.
Yes.
Everyone's homies hate Atrax.
Status Calamitous.
We can obviously that was where our day ended. We were so shit-faced at that point. We just went no, and then had to go and like sober up and try and be an effective human and parent for the rest of the day. So there was that. But you guys progressed through the encounter through Atrax into what's probably going to be the thing that this raid is really remembered for, into that massive space skywalk section. I think
The awesome music.
Yeah, I mean,
look, every team has someone who can't jump. Who is it on your team? Who was a person dying, or did you all fly through?
So,
I don't think anyone. No, probably the hunter. It was a Flux, maybe.
Throw him under the bus. Suck shit, Flux.
Sorry, Flux. I honestly don't remember.
Guys, this is why Flux disappears in between world's first runs, because you're mean to him.
Probably.
Yeah, I think we each probably like fell off at least once. I think maybe Siege was.
I don't think I did. I think I died to the ads at the end. The Briggs.
Siege was on a Titan with lion rampants and a sword, so he was not falling off. I know that.
He had a big safety net.
Yeah.
It's
nice.
I don't know. I feel
it
like
reminded
it
me
was
of Halo 2. Yeah, someone put in chat. It reminded me of the Halo 2 section where the sound changes a bit and you get that like muffled gunshots and that kind of stuff, and it was pretty cinematic.
I feel like it was just a great way to bring down kind of like, I mean, obviously not when you're doing the world's first attempt and racing, you still just fucking pedal to the metal trying to get through it. But playing through it like after the fact, it's kind of like, Atrax, obviously it's getting less and less hectic by the day, but the first few times you play through that, it's a pretty full on encounter and it's stressful. And then you get this sort of like, no matter how you play it, there's this sort of 4 or 5 minutes of just chill out, jump on the platforms, kill some shanks, listen to some incredible music, look at the bullshit skyboxes that Bungie makes and sort of bask in that for a bit and kind of cleanse yourself of the stress before getting into what's the next one called? The Descent? Or I can't even remember. I don't know.
Yeah.
I probably should have checked
Descent,
the
Rapture. I think the loading zone's called Rapture, but it's the Descent,
Yeah. How did you guys fare in that?
Like that.
How did you fare in the Descent the first time around? It's my favorite encounter in the raid. I love it. I think it's.
I think it was a really cool encounter. It was really fun.
Yeah, I think that encounter probably had like the ad difficulty that people obviously. Sorry, just to skip ahead to like difficulty, but that felt like it had the ad difficulty that people were kind of expecting. It's just a really tight area with lots of ads in it, which has kind of been what raids were. So it was a lot of fun, a lot of like Phoenix Protocol wells going down, just really hectic. And it was still a relatively quick encounter to clear, but it did a really good job at priming you for the mechanics of the boss fight.
Yeah, introducing blue.
Blue skin.
The nukes.
Red, yellow,
blue.
I think I think that's a pretty well steeped tradition at this point for raids in Destiny, and that Crown sort of really did it well first, and then Garden sort of come along after that. But the gradual introduction of the increasing complexity of the buffs and debuffs and mechanics of the encounter, sort of building to the final boss fight. I as someone who's kind of a little bit thick and needs to be taught things in steps, very helpful. Thank you very much. Chef kisses fucking all the way home. But did you think, were you worried that you'd done something wrong when the ship started to crash? Because
I think there was the Triumphs got posted or whatever, so we saw that the encounter was called like nuclear descent or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
And
Right.
so we knew that like crashing down, we were probably doing something right.
Yeah, as long as it's changing, you're doing something right. As long as you're not stuck in the room.
Just kind of go with it until it wipes you.
Yeah.
So
I think we've not really seen anything like that before. It was a cool, really has a really epic sort of cinematic feel as you're fighting through. I mean, obviously when you're, doing it on a harder difficulty at the time of a world's first, you're not worried about watching the blast shields come off the front of the ship as it's breaking up in orbit or whatever. But it's nice to go through and do that now with a little bit more time and check out the detail that they've put into it, because each phase basically there's like an appearance change up on the near where Tanix is standing at the start. It's fucking epic. So then bang, we're on the ground, and then we're into the final encounter, and for no apparent reason Tanix is fused to a shank. Has anyone figured that out?
what's
He
going
turned
on?
himself
Why?
into a shank.
Just like
Ow.
is that a fallen thing, Manny? Like, is there lore on that where like, oh hang on, I'm a fallen and my legs
He's
are cooked.
rolling his eyes.
I'm just gonna. Are they modular as a species? Can they just like be bolted onto each other, or how does it work?
Don't fucking get me all fired up, all right? Because
I'm scared. I'm a little bit scared.
I haven't read all the books. Apparently, there is a bit of lore about Tanix and Eramis, but the whole idea of Tanix being reborn from a nuclear descent is odd. To me, is unusual. I don't. There's a little bit of disbelief with how that encounter happened.
I feel like it's something that they're going to have to retcon and address, right? Because like everyone kind of goes like, fucking what? Like initially I thought that he was just like writing it. Like, because the first few times I saw that encounter, obviously I'm just watching people streaming their day one runs, and no one's really stopping to just I'll just have a good look and check him out. So I thought, like, why is this mad lad just sitting on the back of a fucking shank? And then I realized, no, he's like just replaced his fucking legs with a shank out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like if there was Siva or something like that, and you saw, red Siva lines sort of, he saw it form, you might be like, okay, like he's controlling Siva, or and that's how previous, raids have been done, or you sort of see a little bit of a hint of how it got created, or it gets created off screen and you just, your mind fills in the rest, but the fact that you literally, the time sequence is you plummet into Europa, there's a pile of rubble there. Surprise! And he comes out of the rubble. Like, it was cool, but I honestly think that the Lament mission should have been the end of the raid in some way. Like, I sort of wish they were merged together rather than Tanix being thrown in there. Because I think the Lament mission did a really good job at wrapping everything up, and it's hard then, because
I feel
like the Lament gave people who didn't play the game a really nice conclusion to the story.
Yep.
But I also feel like it would have been the perfect ending for a raid as well, like having that kind of boss and that kind of exotics. I don't know.
It's a hard juggle, I think, in that like they know that raids are typically not the most accessible content, right? Like they're difficult, and unless you've got you can put together a fire team. Admittedly, this one's it's pretty friendly. If I'm helping people through it, fucking anyone can. But I think that like that kind of epic storytelling that brings the whole DLC kind of to an effective end, they kind of hamstrung into not being able to have it in a raid just so that most people can access it, which kind of sucks because I totally agree. Like if the closing thing of the raid was going in and waking up the big fucking Exo big brain boy downstairs and all of that, it would have been perfect. But I mean, I made a point that I wasn't going to do any of that shit until after I cleared the raid. So obviously I slept it off on fucking Sunday night, being shit-faced, came back on Monday and knocked it over, and then went and did all the lament and all that sort of stuff. So I'm glad I did it in that sequence because I felt like that, you know, then my actions or whatever were what preceded it rather than it just being something that was gated by the community. So Tanix is a fight, boys. How did you go with that? Because I mean, there's a few things going on, but I feel like most of the mechanics get a little bit easier in that encounter. Like Operator's much easier than it is in something like Atrax, where you're juggling the doors and people and whatever.
Yeah.
But there's more going on. You know, there's sort of all three, and then if you're not, you know, if you don't have a buff, you are running a bomb. Was how much time did you spend there, and what were the sort of like the breakthrough moments of things that you identified are like, okay, this is the way, not to be too Mandalorian about it.
God, it's hard to remember, but I don't think like comparison to like other day one attempts that we've done, we spend a lot less time at the boss than we usually do.
Yeah.
I think we picked up on things there a lot quicker than past attempts and whatnot. It was pretty quick figuring out the whole system of scanner, dunking, and all that, especially suppressor. We noticed like the beach balls that were floating above every area, and once we figured out that it just the three from the area that he goes to lights up, that was very simple once that had been like once we'd figured that out. And after that it was really, how do we optimize damage?
How do we kill him? How do we DPS? Because we noticed like a lot of other teams were having the DPS problems. So we're just trying everything. We tried Wardcliff, probably Xenophage or Izanagi's and snipers or GLs, stuff like that. And we eventually settled on you need 2 special weapons because the ads were pretty easy.
Yeah,
and
another thing that
kill them with a sword. They spawn out of certain doors wherever.
Another thing that we checked and would probably check every time we go forward is we always do one test without Divinity and one test with it, because there are some bosses in the game where they just have a higher crit multiplier and Divinity undoes that. So we made sure like we went and tested that, and we really just try and covered all of our bases when it comes to damage testing. And then once we'd found our preferred method, stuck to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect it.
It seemed to work out.
Well, I mean, clearly it did. It worked very well.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I do feel like the last boss is very much just like there's very few ads. You have most of the knowledge from all the previous encounters. It's just sort of like executing it really. Putting all that knowledge to work and then getting enough DPS.
I need to look into how 4-bomb strat works because I haven't done it that way yet, and I want to do it. It's one of those things I think that'll eventually become the way everyone does it once everyone's confident enough. But for now, it's easy to do too.
So did anyone get the exotic rocket launch? Did Will first get? Do you all get the exotic?
Oh,
No,
what?
this time.
I think after Crown and after seeing Datto's team get debated by it, they might have decided against that. We thought they'd just go with a quest again like they did with Divinity, but they're leaving it as the final drop. I guess they just decided not to do the whole 6 people just in case of another situation like that or some other reason. But
that was one of the moments of doubt that we had when we were waiting for the confirmation. You're like, we didn't all get the raid exotic. What if someone else got it before us? What if they all got it?
Because there was talk that like that was how it would be, but we couldn't see anything from like Bungie saying that was going to be the thing. So
talk me through what happens when you finish. Did you tweet it? Like what did you do to get word out that you've like get wrecked, everyone, we've done it? Like, but also like
people were already there in the stream. They just I guess they someone saw it, and then someone told their friend, and they told their friend, and then
How many people did you have watching on the final boss?
Claw stream had peak about 20 something thousand viewers.
Fuck.
I had about 400. I don't know what sort of had a few thousand.
Yeah.
That's unreal.
Yeah, it was literally just like the second we got to like the final damage, the final stand, it just peaked viewers. Like went.
That would
It's
have
one of
been
those
exciting.
things. It's one of those things that we've spoken about on the cast before. I think the episode where we had Ninja on, and Ninja was like right up there. Obviously, Last Wish, which is will probably go down as one of the most insane raid races of all time, just by the scale of it. But it's the kind of thing that like if you were there and you can do what you guys have done over the last fucking this event. It's something you can build a career on in terms of streaming and. Like you're out there now, people know who you are, people know what you're about. And, there's a hell of a lot of people that have just come through and managed to sort of experience that through this event. So I think in that sort of sense, it's an incredible way that Destiny has of kind of celebrating the, like pinnacle players, which you guys are. So I hope that it's something that you guys are looking to do and looking to double down on and build on. And us as like, our regional community, it's just excellent that we've got dudes that are doing this stuff. Like, I mean, Fami's an absolute legend and has been doing it for a long time as well. So, he's much the same boat. I hope that it's something that continues, and I hope that with the return of like VOG, I think VOG will be. We were talking about it obviously before we went live, and I think VOG will be a different kettle of fish. My hope is that they change up the mechanics in VOG. I know that would probably get people upset, but I feel like if they change the mechanics at least a bit, then it becomes we can have a world's first race where if it's the same, it's going to be it's so to the advantage of people who played D1 and have done it before. So it'll be interesting to see how they manage it. Very interesting. But again, dudes, just to close this out, congratulations, a huge achievement. And just fucking make the most of it, please, because it's just excellent to see good blokes doing good stuff. All right, now we can get into talking about the toxic shit that went into the community all week. So we can do that.
The good stuff.
The good stuff. All right, go and fill up your fucking tea cups because you're about to get the tea. You know what? Go and fill a teapot full of mojitos because you're going to need it. Look, I'll go first. We're all allowed to have an opinion here. You can, obviously... There's two very distinct skill sets on the DDU this week. The capable side, if you're looking at the screen, on the left, the capable players. On the right, Team Mojito Force. Right?
Australia and NZ.
Australia and NZ, true. The green and gold on the right, too pissed to do anything effectively anyway. So that's pretty much on brand for us as a nation. A lot of it, we'll talk about Glad's tweet. I think genuinely it was, I don't think he meant the scale of fucking carnage that came after it. I don't think that was the intention of it. No. But reading it at first pass, it did come off a bit like a bit of a backhand. So look, be that as it may, he's come out and clarified that, and that is what it is. But the real discussion is around, I guess, whether or not for a day one raid this was difficult enough, and how do we then go and make content at the level that you guys are going to thrive in going forward. So, I mean, for us, the fact that we probably got through to A-Tracks is testament that like the ads and the fact that all of the ads in the raid are kind of arc for the most part, and you can spec to, downplay that pretty heavily by like 40% if you're going to stack mods. I feel like this raid in comparison to other raids, and I don't have a benchmark for a day one raid really. I'm comparing it more to like prestige versions of raids or hard modes or whatever like that, where, if you take your eye off the prize for a few seconds, you're cooked, you're going to get ganged up on and killed. Where there were times, at least in the first encounter, when we were trying to wipe, and it was like watching ads just with fucking stormtrooper aim, unable, like, just fucking kill me. I'm here. So, how do you guys feel about it? Do you feel like, I mean, I guess like to lay the facts out, the clear of this was much the same in terms of total time as Garden. And obviously heaps less than Last Wish. I don't think Bungie as a company
And Crown, I think it was the same as like 4 hours. Garden was like 6 and a bit. We're like
Crown,
in the middle.
Garden, Spire, all of them are sort of 4 to 6.
Spire was like 8, I think, wasn't it?
Do you think that's
Something like
the
that,
sweet
yeah.
spot? Do you think that's?
I think
like,
it is.
Yeah.
I think the reason the number of clears have been lower for those is just much lower player numbers, player counts, a lot more attempts at this raid. But also this past year, like Bungie's introduced things like Master Nightfalls and then 2 seasons ago Grandmaster Nightfalls, which is all content that, quite frankly, the ads are just harder than raid ads. They're just a lot stronger, and we have a lot of builds to like account for that. And I think that's part of the reason why people found it so easy is one, just sort of they've had content to practice and get used to strong ads, and then those ads have actually been a lot stronger than what we get in the raid. So
the community
I for
actually
one still
went
haven't done a Grandmaster Nightfall. So
dude, get in there. You eat it for fucking breakfast. I mean, maybe that's not. I'm probably telling you. No, it's really hard and it's challenging, and you should do it to prove yourself as a gamer. I don't know, whatever the fuck. I think that's a fair point.
It's like the farm, the master ones for me for the materials. That's all I would do it for.
Yeah, true.
I'm definitely in the boat of it was more people, more time. Like this is the first time I've been able to jump into a world's first in probably years. So that is a real clear. And I actually have been fucking probably the busiest this is the busiest I've been in 4 years. You know how I fucking know? Because my PhD is due next month. So I fucking statistically know I'm fucking flat out.
Yeah.
It's the busiest I've been, and I've had the most sponsors I've ever had on the fucking channel. So I've had to be making all that content.
Calm down, Hollywood.
And play the game. And I still got to do World's First. So I know it was relatively easy to get to raid ready in the time period between releasing Be Online and doing the raid, because I was able to do it. And if I could do it, that means fucking a lot of people were able to get that to that point. I also think there was a fucking heavy interest in Deep Stone Crypt, and it piqued the interest of a lot of people because of the history of the exos and the leaks that were coming out. And I think people wanted to actually experience some story aspects of Deep Stone Crypt. So they jumped in on that too. I think that contest, I know we were all drunk, but I actually team comp. Like I think we were probably above average players, and if we weren't drunk, we still probably weren't going to get past A-Tracks. So like,
yeah,
I thought it was perfect. And I think if I'm going to talk about, look, Glad's tweet I'm going to start a new business, right? And it's going to teach YouTubers how to make apology videos. I'm going to make fucking money about it, because here's an error of apology videos. This is not an apology. No, guys, you interpreted me wrong. That's not what I was saying. It's your fault. You interpreted me wrong. That's not an apology. An apology is, you know what? It was a bit of an elitist shit take. I said it. I didn't probably think about it too much. I definitely see that it was an elitist point of view saying it's a handout. It downgrades and downplays everyone who put the work in. I'm completely contradicting myself. That's not what I meant to say, but that's what I said. It was fucking shit. Now that I've been criticized for it, I'm going to back, I've reflected upon my words, and I agree. It was a shit take. That's how you make a fucking apology, not you interpret it wrong. I'm actually talking about all the future raids no, you're fucking talking about Clover Spray, Deep Stone Crypt, this raid right now. You thought it was a handout because lots of people did it, when really you were ignorant to how many people actually participated, how much time people had to participate, and that finally it's not just fucking pogger streamers who have 4 days to grind to the actual level to actually participate in the raid. There you go.
I think it's and that's like where it actually sits now. I think is a healthy space, right? Like it's different to where it has been, and I think that's probably what's like when you consider the shit that Glad and like gigs and stuff have been through in the past, and you guys to an extent as well, that you take. Like this was the zone that content lived in, like 24-hour fucking day one clears and all that sort of stuff. And since then, Bungie have definitely deliberately changed the focus of that because we're getting the shorter day one, the shorter world first completions. But I think it's healthy for it to become an event that is like for anyone willing to really fucking put the effort in. Like, and I'm not talking like, oh, just, get to level and have a crack. Like, I know that like our clan, like the TA boys, I know how much work they put into that. And obviously, they're not god tier fucking slayers of this sort of stuff. But they fucking worked. They worked as a team. They, and it took them 20 hours, but they got through it. Yeah. And then to see the tweet sort of that read as though it was diminishing that, I was like, dude, that's not on. So I think that if we have this expectation going forward that like, okay, right, if you are going to like really put your cock on the block and try and build a team, and you don't have to be the greatest players in the world, but you're going to have to stick it out, and you might have to stick it out for fucking 20 hours to get through and get your day one clear and get your emblem. I feel like that's a fucking really positive thing for raiding in Destiny, because I looked at people like that and went, like I'm inspired by members in my own clan to go out and fucking and make this raid my own as well. I don't think I think the kind of the mix up of it all, it's kind of like, you've got your day one completion here, and then the big bickies, which is the world's first race, which obviously you guys are, that's always going to be your focus. So I believe that like we need like a fucking a special emblem and all that sort of stuff for the guys who come, you guys who
like maybe
take it
top
out
100 or something like that.
Yeah,
I think
maybe it's like we're going to go through and we're going to verify
and prestige.
Yeah, verify the top 50 teams who complete the raid in that order, and maybe it fucking says here's your emblem, and maybe there's the metric little tracker on it that says okay, you came 49th, or 28th.
That's
or
a good
whatever.
idea.
And I think that way you end up with the prestige, you end up with the like, we were here, we did it quick, we were like right up there, and you have it for forever. But it doesn't, stop the people. It
doesn't
who are
detract
like,
from other people.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's a huge learning experience, and obviously the debate that it's not going to be missed. It's the scale of the kind of. I mean, there was a lot of toxic shit said, and I need to absolutely make clear that like if you're out there threatening people over a fucking video game, you're a dickhead. And it doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on, whether you're being elitist, whether you feel like someone else is being elitist. If you are actually going to threaten someone over a video game, like go into your bathroom right now, look in the mirror, and then headbutt it because you're a fucking moron. But like,
yeah, look, and I think
this community does.
When you've got,
I shouldn't say this community. All communities are prone to that on the internet. It's just it's 2020, man.
Yeah, and like put it this way, like God help us if Log and I ever have the audience that Glad does, because we'll be making apology videos every fucking second week. You know what I mean?
I say that. I say that a lot.
You're obviously under more scrutiny the larger you are, but like fucking what's Spider-Man's fucking uncle saying? With great power becomes great responsibility. Yeah. Right? So if you look, we've talked enough about it. Like it came across as a bit of a sore loser and a bit of an elitist opinion, right? When really if you're at the top of the directory in Twitch for Destiny, you should be going GG's. Yep. And then take a week off and then think about how you might make comment on the difficulty of the raid. Because I think after going from contest mode to non-contest mode did change my opinion a bit. And I was like, interesting. Like this, we fucking did blow through this after contest mode.
Yeah.
So that sort of like supported my viewpoint that contest mode was done pretty well, because we went from no way we can complete this to actually this is actually pretty easy to get through.
Yep.
But that also sort of supports the idea that maybe ads weren't like the fundamentals of the raid maybe weren't very challenging in itself.
It really felt like the difficulty lay in the mechanics rather than the threat of ads and threat of bleeding out revives and whatnot. So
exactly,
it kind of leans one way or the other in some raids, and this one it definitely felt on the mechanic side, which I guess helped a lot more people clear it once strategies were developed
Once
and
you
evolved.
solve the mechanic, that's
Yep.
true. I would agree with that. Once you know the mechanic, I mean, but that's sort of the whole point of raids. But it did seem like it. Yeah, I agree. It did seem like it was skewed towards mechanics rather than ads. So it didn't really matter if you maybe were, and because everyone was raid ready, and once the mechanics were solved, then it was definitely.
I think I think a worthwhile conversation we can have, like coming out of the back of this, is like obviously we have very different skill sets, but from you guys, if you could see like what would you implement in terms of like modifiers or whatever, you know, obviously we've got the direct comparison of contest on, contest off, but you guys are at the peak of that PvE crowd. What would you want to see implemented for you to be able to get more bang for your buck out of this content? Because I can imagine that like right now you'd be able to do this blindfolded and it's not much of a challenge, and hence it becomes a lot less fun, right? Like, you know, unless you feel like you're actually doing something worthwhile, it gets old pretty quick. So what would you guys do? What would you like to see? Just completely spitball, like it's off the cuff.
I mean, it's thrown around like a lot since its introduction, but a toggleable contest mode after day one.
Turn contest
really
mode
nice.
on, you get more loot, or like an actual hard mode of the raid, like in Destiny 1 with like highlight, which was basically kind of contest, and they had like slightly harder or difficult mechanics, harder ads, stuff like that. No revives, wasn't it? As well.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. But that being said, just because a raid is like if a raid is lower in difficulty, that doesn't necessarily mean that we'll get bored of it quickly. Like we tend to sort of go in with fewer people, do low man stuff, like
low man stuff,
3-man and 2-man bosses and whatnot. So it's not
speedruns.
It's not the end of the world if a raid is like quote unquote easy. There's still a lot of fun to be had in a raid. It's just more options would just give us obviously.
Yeah, we have to make it sort of harder for ourselves rather than having the option to, you know, be rewarded, you know, in a game with loot or whatever. So we go for the low mans, which is like, I don't know, it's our own reward, or the speed runs, which is, you know, another title or another out of game reward.
You 3-manned it like the day after, didn't you? Did I see that right?
Yeah. A few people did it before us, but then I'd be glad Chevy
man.
3-manned it.
Like everyone else is just sitting there struggling to 6-man the fucking thing. How do you juggle like deactivated augments and stuff like that with that, or do you just have to like one phase at that final boss?
No, you have to die basically, or you could wait it out the whole time.
What about ricochet rounds? Can't you ricochet fucking bullets off the wall?
Yeah, for Atrax,
to get the orb off.
The Atrax, you can self reset yourself.
Yeah,
it's pretty funny.
For Tanix, because people have done 3-man flawless already, and that's something I'm working on with two of my friends, Ever and Ziggy.
Yeah, I think that'll be interesting.
The way you have to manage that is you have to juggle the nuke between you, so that the person who got deactivated can get rid of their buff and let the cooldown sort of expire a little bit before you move on.
It just sounds so stressful.
It's
I just
fun.
sit here and I get anxious just fucking hearing about it. All right, what we might do, we're gonna we'll open up chat. So if you've got any questions for these boys, because like honestly, there's nothing worthwhile that you're gonna ask me or Matt. Like fucking hell, maybe a lore question for Matt, or maybe
a
like
lore question,
an alcohol related question for me, I suppose. Hey, we can cover a lot of ground between us. So if you've got a question, fire away, and we'll do that for a little bit, and then we'll get out of here. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like this raid, like Deep Stone Crypt, hit so many right notes, and I feel like there's a few little things like definitely a toggleable contest modifier would absolutely knock it out of the park. I think that'll definitely be something that they'll be looking to do, because it seems like such a no-brainer, right? Like it seems so straightforward.
Especially like, have you guys got the new rocket launcher or not?
I have. Yeah.
What are we talking? Is this, because I actually haven't really seen much about it. Is this a Galahorn 2.0 or what?
It's got really good burst damage on like the first shot, as far as I can tell, but it's kind of like hard to sustain it. I think if you kill like 4 ads with it, and it gives you like 50% extra damage on your next rocket.
But like, so what do you mean? So like you got to aim it at some ads and then blow them up, and then aim at the boss.
And then your next rocket will or next 6 rockets, I guess. We'll
You
do.
just reload it, and like that shot stays in reload, and you can just.
Oh, right. So you can prep. You can prep.
It's
for
like kill clip, but for a rocket.
Right. Right.
But you
Yeah.
can still store it, and you can store it. Like you can switch weapons,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it'll
Yeah,
still
that's
be there
right,
for
fair
the
enough.
50% damage on the first shot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
it's
can you see yourself using that over like taking exotic slot for that?
There's some like very niche uses for it, but it kind of, I don't know. I probably won't take it. It's not like a situation where like 1K on release where it was just the best exotic in that slot on release and everyone wanted it.
Yeah, right.
But it's definitely fun to use and it's definitely pretty good.
Cool.
I think that's good. All right. So first question from Antivist TTV. What do you think you guys did differently compared to previous raid races that helped you pull through?
We
Just
didn't choke, sort of. I don't know.
Don't choke.
Because
There you go, kids.
we've been at the boss, and we've been, pretty close to finishing, relatively, high places or first or whatever, but we just haven't been able to close it out. And that happened to us sort of because we got to final stand and then we wiped, but we just.
I thought that was going to be a choke moment.
Yeah, but we were able to like go back in and still do it. Like after we choked, I was like, we know what to do. We know what to do. We can do this. We can do this. We can do this.
Yeah, and it was definitely the attitude going in. We were a lot less less focused on number one, and as a result, less stressed and probably just clearer mind.
Yeah, that comes from experience, I think.
Was there any moment where people got angry at each other, or were you? Because you guys seem pretty relaxed dudes. Was there any angry boys? At all?
A couple of times, but it only lasted like a minute, and then we just got over it and got.
Yeah, it's literally like a case of like 10 seconds. Someone will be like, "Why did you do that?" And then we'll kind of have a laugh about it.
Explain
next
or we
attempt.
Talk it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
see, so
at
our-
the end, like
on first encounter, Flux didn't infuse his xenophage up, and we were using xenophage for damage, and he didn't have an upgrade module, so he had to go fly back to the tower to go grab it up.
Really?
And infuse his xenophage back up, and I was like, "You could have done this before."
All right, so hold on a second. So Flux fucked up the jump, and then he didn't have his xenophage done. What's going on here?
I don't know how true that jumping puzzle thing is. That's Tara's statement, not mine.
Hey, do you have any spots for next raid? I'll bring a teapot.
I think Matt, what we've learned out of that is that they took the exact opposite strategy to us, where like we kind of went, well, if everyone's always angry, there's no one who's really angry. It was the whole strategy of, no, that's my secret. I'm always angry.
So I'm always angry.
All right, so another one of you boys. Aside from the toggleable contest, do you think adding in more variables like match game, but not necessarily that modifier, but just as an example, would force people to use different loadouts playing through the raid?
Yeah, it's hard to say. Like the whole modifier thing's kind of played out with the prestige raid layers back in year one, and those were kind of a bit of a miss. Yeah, no offense to the designer who made them. They were fun to play a few times, but they didn't offer that much replayability.
One loadout, you must use this.
Yeah, in terms of modifiers, the stuff from the GMs is like, again, hit or miss. There are some modifiers that's just like you just take more damage, and that's kind of like where I would lean. It's a very simple thing that just ups the difficulty. Things like you take more damage while jumping kind of just feel like crap, if I'm honest. Like you get penalized for pressing a button effectively. Yeah. And you often forget about it, and I'm not a fan of those modifiers, but a lot of the stuff from GMs would do well in raids, I think, if it was sort of on power or a little bit under power or whatever. Yeah.
I think like adding some of the champions and stuff like that would,
I was gonna say champions.
Yeah, I mean, like that could be a pain in the ass, especially if you were doing like that raid at contest modifier and had some of the more nasty champions on the field than you had to deal with as a team. I think, I mean, obviously having now, what's the fucking chainsword called that you can just chop the fuck out of everyone. It changes the game a little bit. I actually thought that we were going to see a lot more of that in the raid because of that. I thought that was heralding like, okay, well, there's, they're giving us this because obviously we're going to need to be clearing something with it. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, we sort of went in expecting there to be a lot more champions to kill. With an artifact mode where you finish a champion, you get heavy ammo. We just
I
I
think
don't think we ever used it, and
we only got champions on the encounters without bosses. I'm not. I think that's probably intentional because that's how it was in Garden as well, as far as I'm aware. Unless you, some-
champions.
yeah,
final
there's champions at boss if you go to one of the islands during DPS, but who would ever do that?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's weird. I kind of think that there would be more space for champions in the raid, like if they just want more difficulty. But it's kind of but iffy if that would make sense on a boss fight or whatever, having to deal with like a smaller boss that forces you into like one loadout. I think really just more of the like orange bars and tankier ads to eat up bullets and slow down your ad clear would help.
Can I ask this? Because someone asked about stasis in the chat. Did you guys run stasis at all?
No,
I don't think so.
I don't think it was even a thought to switch to stasis for any of the encounters, at least for me.
Yeah, we're so familiar with like the other classes, and we've had a lot of time to play with them and whatnot. Definitely kept like an open mind, like in preparation for raid day.
Yeah.
But during the raid, there was no point where I thought, stasis will really do this part well.
Right. How do you feel about that? Do you think that's the right way to go? Do you think they should have been?
I think that it kind of depends. I think it's more of a symptom of like stasis as a subclass, not fitting the really higher end of PvE content as well as it could. Maybe I'm not sure. I'm just sort of speaking out my ass.
There's not really a support stasis.
Yeah,
there's not a support stasis class, which is what you'd probably want for
exactly.
Ad clear.
In the raid,
that being said,
survivability.
I did find because a lot of the encounters were quite closed in. I actually did find I was running stasis just for fun. Did find like the Hunter's super, like a little tornado, because the first encounter's basically a small room. The Morning Star, dropping that down, is also a small room. So you throw it down and just wipe. It just sort of goes through and freezes everyone from one small ad. So I actually really enjoyed using stasis in there, but obviously wasn't going for world's first.
I think it's
one
just
thing I
by
noticed,
nature of it, it doesn't buff damage, right? Like there's no maybe we'll see something come along in the fragments and aspects sort of stuff where it really adds to the utility of it as a support class, but I just can't see it getting close to like wells and bubbles and that sort of stuff at the moment, because they're just they're so across the board. Like at that point you are just straight buffing the damage you are doing with your gun, and that's what you want.
One thing I did think about to do with stasis before the raid is the Hunter Soup is really good at like staggering bosses. So if you're ever going in for like a sword on a boss and it has like a stomp that you're worried about, like that's where that super would really come in. But we just didn't have that in the raid, and so that I guess would never have really been an opportunity for a Hunter to switch
and
to.
the stasis grenades for the what is it, the champions. You can stun.
I think it'll come into its own in Grandmasters and stuff. I think there's a lot of utility there, and even like doing a bit of lost sector farming and stuff over the last few days. It's what I've used for that, because of freezing champions and all of that. Even when you solo it, it's it works quite well. I just think that like in terms of like a 6-man activity with that you're not doing enough to kind of buff your teammates, and I think that's where it's falling over. So whether or not it's something we see expanded upon, I hope we do, because I feel like that the way the subclass works is pretty novel and really interesting, and I'd like to see them expand upon that, which they're obviously planning to do. But at the moment, I can totally understand why you guys are sticking with your tried and true methods of what's worked for you in the past. Can we just get a moment of appreciation for the fact that we finally got a fucking boss without a boss stomp mechanic?
About that. Good. If you go under him, like while he's doing when he's about to spawn the nukes, he will stomp.
Oh, really? I've never been close
so we've
enough
got a floating boss with a
it.
boss stomp.
Somehow it would like float up, float down, and you just get pushed back by something.
Just the god wave.
And also during DPS, he's got the electric field, which just constantly like it ramps up damage and kills you.
Knocks you back. So
how did you feel about that? The fact that there's literally a little couple of like a target symbol drawn on the fucking floor for you to stand in. That's there at all times.
Foreshadowing again, yeah.
You know, like before Tanix even gets up and is fused with the fucking thing, there's already the target symbol there, so you can, you know, like you can show people where they've got to stand. I think it's novel in that like it lets you show someone through that raid like really fucking easily. Like here's the fucking Goldilocks zone of not too electrified and not too hit by debris where you want to stand. You know, just right. But I think that I don't know. It's one of those things that when you're doing it subsequent times and it's there on the floor before anything's happened, you're just like, oh, okay.
So did you guys go grab Lament straight away after you finished, or did you get off?
I started the quest and I just kept getting distracted by by other things. I was just sort of in disbelief for that like hour or two afterwards. So I didn't get it until like my subsequent clears when people were like, oh, this is the strat for boss melting. And I was like, oh, I should probably finish that quest.
Yeah. What do you think about Lament?
It's great. It's a really a really, really powerful exotic, and it's fun to use.
Do you know what I really like about it is like the burst, like it is like the burst damage is great, but it's not like sustained. So I sort of like how there's still a place for Falling Guillotine. Well, I mean, it's obviously not an exotic either, but it just feels like it's like if you can wipe out the boss with it or a champion or whatever you're doing, it's awesome. But if you need like sustain, then you might choose something else, and that feels really cool. How it's got like quite a specific role that it fulfills.
I think the only issue with it is that like hit detection. Like I was watching Aura farm fucking Nightfalls last night, and the only thing that ever brought him unstuck was that like when you're trying to hit something and end up charging past it just inexplicably.
Do you know what I've been told?
There's some kind of mapping in it.
No, do you know what I've been told? This completely changes for me.
What?
And I can do it. You aim at the ground and you don't dash past them.
Yeah.
If that is true.
Dude, it will take you from dashing past them to doing a fucking ridiculous, like just always wiping whatever boss you're on. You literally
because
you still got the curse from it. You still got the curse from the
MLG games, kids. What the fuck is this?
No, I was told this. And as soon as I made that adjustment, you just delete things. Absolutely delete them, because you can always hit your Banshee Whale or whatever it is, your stacks.
My favorite thing about that.
Always deliver it.
My favorite thing about that sword is just that it feels like it's taken swords and then like doubled them into like anime fucking, you know, like it's borderline the Street Fighter, like fucking faster than
like
you can see.
And stuff.
It's so good. Really it's so satisfying to pull off, especially, I mean, it does a fuckload of damage, but even if it didn't and it just looked like that, people would still do it.
Yeah.
All right, unreal. Well, we might wrap this up, dudes. Is there anything that you want to discuss before we close, boys? Or anything everyone's got, the airing of grievances, anything you want to talk about?
No, it's been pretty unreal. Yeah, like thanks for having us on. Like the support from you guys and the rest of the community has been incredible. Like it's been insane. Actually like I still can't believe it.
Unreal. But unbelievable.
Yeah,
we really did it, Soto. We did it.
We did it.
We did it. I'm a real boy.
Hey, so what's next? Like, are you guys streaming a lot? Are you making other kind of content? Like, what's on the cards now?
Yep. Me and Tara actually just earlier today we've been practicing for speedruns of the raid with a few of our friends, like AC, a few others.
Yep.
And
AC,
yeah, yep. And occasionally sort of just stream like 3-man challenges, whatever. But yeah, see how it comes and goes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do the YouTube content as well. Streaming
Good, man.
pretty hard as well.
Yeah. Good.
That's good.
So what's the streaming schedules look like for you guys? When can people find you?
Tomorrow at about reset plus 2 hours, which is like 8 a.m. NZ.
Yeah, that's how we measure time in our sort of international teams.
Yeah, reset
plus.
On top.
Yeah.
Me, AC, and will probably all be streaming that.
Yep.
And each day or certain days?
Haven't got a schedule yet, but it's just whenever we do runs. Probably tweet it out, like our Twitters or whatever. And yeah, I stream sort of in the evenings as well when I'm playing with more Australian friends and stuff. So yeah.
So I'm sort of going to ban you from talking to Log ever again because you're reinforcing Log's strategy of like not being organized and things just work out. And it fucking pisses me off. Log's just always like, nah, I'll be right. Just don't worry about planning. Don't do this. Don't do that. It'll be fine. I'm like, we need to be organized.
90% of our conversations is Matt going, what are we doing about this? And me just going, no, we'll fucking wing it. It'll be sweet. What?
She'll be right.
She'll be right. Yeah, exactly. That is it. It's an issue at some points, but here we are.
No,
I think the logistics. Yeah, you got to get it a little more organized, but
yeah,
for all this sort of stuff.
But then I do, and I get fucking bit by bloody blackouts anyway, and we fucking have to. Might as well just wing it. What's the fucking point?
Yep.
True.
Nah, it's good. Well, look, dudes, it's been a pleasure jumping into this conversation and having a chat and having you on. And look, I mean, obviously you won't be strangers, but we're going to have a chat again at some point, maybe leading into the next raid race, and we can talk about where it's headed and, you know, whatever else comes up. I'm looking forward to you guys getting your hands on VOG whenever that comes. It's one of those things. It's kind of, I feel like maybe in Destiny's history, it's kind of a little bit overloved in a way. I don't mean that in like it shouldn't be, but it's
the first
like
raid.
It's so many people remember it so fondly because of that. I just hope that it's received that way by, you know, people who haven't played through it. But yeah, all right. Look, where can people find you? Like quick links. Just is Twitter the best place to follow you guys along?
Twitter for me, Aoterra.
Yep. Twitter and Twitch definitely, and they're just same as their usernames, or maybe not for Terra. Mine's Sotosolice. That's
I'm Aoterra on Twitch and YouTube.
Yeah.
Rad.
Aoterra on Twitter.
Yeah.
I'll find you.
All right. Well, we're gonna raid out, but before we do that, we need to participate in one of our deeply esteemed fucking DDU traditions of asking Mylan where the law will find people this week. Matt, can you conjure up some lore? Is there any lore to be had this week? What's happening?
So there's a teapot, right?
Right, okay.
And you're thinking, oh, what's in this teapot? What's this teapot? You take that out, and you expect there to be no liquid. You see there's a note in the bottom. Oh, maybe this is a lore entry in here. You pick up the note, and it just says, Day 1 emblems are handouts. Eat a dick.
Oh,
see you later, guys. Bye-bye.
All right. Bring back Worldline. Fuck!